Why must I be surrounded by incompetent fools? I don't expect Evil Geniuses 2's world domination to be a walk in the park, but I can't take diabolical joy in shaking my fist at the forces of justice or making an example of an unruly minion when it's a clunky interface and confusingly worded objectives getting in the way of my grand plans. The whole Dungeon Keeper meets Bond villain operation is decked in delightful style and humor from top to bottom. That can only go so far when the acts of building a secret lair, ordering around underlings, and taking over the damn world are so often underwhelming. Evil Genius 2 is at its best when it's leaning into the tropes and aesthetics of the classic over-the-top spy thrillers that inspired it. From the hulking, brass-bedecked Red Ivan to the subtly menacing goody-turned-arch-villain Emma, each of the 4 geniuses you can choose to play has a distinct, in-your-face personality that makes them the deliciously malicious center of the unfolding plot. With simple but effective character designs and gleeful, scenery-chewing voice acting, I was always eager to see how these titans of crime would react to each new challenge or event in the story.
Time to build something that kills people beautifully.
And there are a lot of scripted episodes to enjoy here. As you progress towards building a campaign-winning doomsday weapon, you'll recruit new types of minions to staff your base, steal cultural heirlooms, and go up against some of the globe's signature crime fighters.
I'd warn you not to underestimate me, but you're not the first.
Dealing with these do-gooders means running a legit-seeming upscale casino as a cover operation, or deploying your armed henchmen if they decide to ignore those employees-only doors, and that creates some tense dust-ups with higher stakes and tougher enemies the more infamous you become. Along the way, even bit parts are voiced and animated with a dramatic flair, and the way they're organized into optional side missions you can pick up at any time gives you a lot of control over what kind of tale you're in the mood for.
You there. How much can you lift?
About 70 kilos on a good day, 80 if I use both hands.
There seem to be quite a few of them, as I'm still seeing plenty of new ones with over 25 hours of terror under my belt.
Very well. Hire some staff, dress them well, teach them to cheat at roulette.
Unfortunately, for almost every spot where Evil Genius excels in the style department, I can point to one where it falls short in substance. Building a multi-layered base full of evil computers, evil bunk beds, and evil whatever this thing is, was a rewarding way to customize my operation with the added wrinkle of having to think about how to best make use of limited space. But almost everything else I had to do to take over the world was not so pleasant. Let's cut right to the chase. This world map here is where you deploy minions to steal money, kidnap specialists who can train your staff to do new jobs, and complete story missions. As a whole, it's mostly a giant mess, and I kind of hate it. Its existence dragged my machinations down time and again. For example, the little number next to the menu button down here will show you how many of your global criminal networks are idle, but there doesn't seem to be a way to quickly see which ones need attention once you're on the map screen. You have to actually hover over each one to check its status and see who needs a new assignment. Don't I have lackeys to trudge through this tedium for me? I ended up mostly ignoring the active operations like heists or distracting the authorities unless I needed a quick cash infusion or there was a story mission to complete. It's a major chore to try to have a lot of operations running constantly, and the rewards don't usually seem worth it since each network will generate a small amount of passive income even if you do nothing, which was more than enough to keep things running smoothly once I had enough outposts built. The interface is generally terrible at communicating objectives too, doling out vague directives and assuming you'll be able to, I guess, psychically discern which steps are required to get there. For example, it might tell you to recruit 2 new types of minions to fill out your roster, but it will never tell you that you need to do this by opening the side stories screen and selecting a specific adventure that will unlock them. I ran into this issue almost constantly in every single Geniuses campaign. The tutorial is mediocre at best, and there doesn't even seem to be a glossary to explain basic game terms. Not anywhere that I could find anyway. while the art, voice acting, and overall themes harmonize so beautifully that they make me want to steeple my fingers and practice my evil laugh. Almost every moment of playing Evil Genius 2 is plagued by a clunky, needy world map layer and confusing, poorly communicated missions. It's the kind of problem that playtesting usually brings out during development, and this game could have used more of that. Once I eventually stumbled almost blindly onto the solutions to some of these frustrating problems through brute force, trial and error, or just hunting through menus, I could see the promise of a dastardly good time laying traps and spinning plates hiding underneath. But being constantly surrounded by fools wasn't quite worth the reward at the end of the doomsday. For some decidedly less dastardly management, check out our reviews of Loop Hero and Story of Seasons Pioneers of Olive Town. And for everything else, keep it right here on IGN.